For you old school gamers that don't know this wonderful, wonderful music, this is Tecmo Bowl. When a wonderful thing happens and you go to the playoffs and clinch, this is the music that you hear. You get elated when you're a divisional champion, such as Disabled Vigilantes is. I don't want to toot my own horn, but since it's the only horn available for tooting, toot, toot. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, we have one team currently in the standings that is going to the playoffs for sure. And they're going to be a divisional champion, whether they're seated in 1, 2, or 3, and that is Disabled Vigilantes. So they will be crowned the Eastern champions due to their win against Chicago Chalupas last week. Just getting that out of the way. Right now we got some divisional leaders that Classy Strippers. He's one game ahead. He's clean sweeped his entire division. As the Grinders Real has clean sweeped his entire division. Stormers Brewing is 2 games behind with 3 games left. So I think the Grinders Real, with a victory next week, can clinch his maybe. I think if he's 8-4, there's no way he can not be a divisional champion. So that's my math. I mean, my math tends to be a little fucked up sometimes, but it is what it is. So let's get this started. Just want to throw that out the way. A little ambiance to this week's wonderful episode. Hope everybody had a good week in fantasy. I had a pretty decent week in fantasy, but it was a horrible week in real football. Thursday, I think the entire football world got a big hit. I wouldn't say it was as big a hit as when Aaron Rodgers went down with a shoulder injury. I'm not a Packers fan, but when an icon like Aaron Rodgers goes down, it's a huge hit. So I think Deshaun Watson was taking the NFL by storm, and so when he goes down like that, and it wasn't even in the game. I mean, if he goes down in game action, I think, but to go down in practice on a non-contact injury, truth be told, if I ever have a son, right before he starts playing high school football, I'm going to take him to a doctor and go get both of his knees just surgically repaired, just to get them out of the way. Just go in there and strengthen both knees, please. So, I don't know. He's already had one knee surgery. Now he's going to go get the other knee. And hopefully he can go out there and play football like he has been. I put him on my IR spot. And, we're going to continue. I'm going to continue to carry him. So this leaves me with 4 potential keepers going into next year. Right now, Deshaun Watson has had the least amount of time on the field and has the most fantasy points on my team. And that's saying a lot, considering I have the most fantasy points out of any team in the league. So it says a whole lot. And coupling him with Deshaun Watson with DeAndre Hopkins, that leaves either Todd Gurley or Le'Veon Bell out in the cold. I wasn't joking when I am going to potentially trade one of these guys in the offseason. So, may the best offer spark my interest. So get the offers in early, and if it sparks my interest, you might be the lucky awardee of a top 3 running back, top 5 if you want to just split hairs, running back, or the best running back. Who knows? It really just depends on the trade. But there's neither here nor there. We're literally a lot of football away from any of that. So let's get down to last week. Let's talk about the past. And I had a horrible, horrible prediction. Let's start off with the grind is real versus Lazy Pugs. Lazy Pugs really needed this win, and the way his team performed, it showed. Like he must have conference called them and said, "Hey, blowjobs for everybody. If you can get me this win against the grind is real. I need this one." And they came through. He might give them complimentary blow. Nah, I know this guy. He probably sent hitmen after these guys because they didn't pull through. Especially Jason Witten. He probably shouldn't go to his car. It may blow up. So the grind is real. Ezekiel Elliott played. Lo and behold, I got a poll up to anybody who knows legal mumbo jumbo to whether or not this guy's gonna finish the season. And if he does, the grind is real has a serious shot. My trade for Deshaun Watson has kind of blown up in my face, but like I said, the guy is magic, and next year, like I said, I'm keeping the guy. I'm keeping Deshaun Watson. So I don't think the trade was bad for me. The guy has the most fantasy points on my team and has the least play time. I'm not gonna say any more about that, but he's got Matt Ryan, and unfortunately Hogan still doubtful, but potentially could come back for the playoffs. I mean, this trade's not bad for him. But we have Ezekiel Elliott could be a linchpin if he comes back and plays all season long. This could be very, very good for the grind is real. Do you think Zeke will play all year? Or do you not think Zeke will play all year? I'm curious to know what everybody thinks. Not what you hope, but what you actually think. I mean, with Tom Brady, the way it went down, they waited, and then eventually he served his suspension. Will they wait? Will they wait and let Zeke serve his suspension after all the dust settles? I'm under the impression that they're going to let Zeke play until everything is final. I think that's the way it should be anyway. If I were to really just be honest, I think Zeke should play until all the legalities are finite, just final. Or until he just says, fuck it, I'll serve this suspension. So that's my take on Zeke. I'll probably say more about it, but I'm trying not to say anything about it. I had Lazy Pugs win this one because I just figured Drew Brees would throw a hell of a lot to Michael Thomas, and I thought Lamar Miller would have a bigger day. I thought he would have a 20-point day. Just not enough. I mean, Lazy Pugs did a lot to try to win this one, and Marshawn Lynch went off. It was a crazy day for the grind is real, and Lazy Pugs just came up just a bit short. My prediction failed. I think I went 2 for 4 this week. Man, it was a rough week for my predictions. Well, rough week for my Texas. Rough week. Try saying that 8 times fast. When I dip, you dip versus Class C strippers. We got a decent matchup here, and when I dip, you dip has kind of exited out of our group me. The group me, I like people being in that, even if you don't, respond or you turn or disable it or whatever. I don't know. When you leave, even when our champ left, he kind of had he got sore when everybody jumped on him, or when the league was trying to go in a different angle. He's like, fuck this, I'm gonna take my football and go home. Chicago chalupas. So I don't know, Adam. If you have any qualms, always could talk to me. Got an open ear. I'll listen, and if it's within reason, I'll try to accommodate. But if you just want to get out of that chat because it's toxic or whatever, or it's not your cup of tea, I understand that as well. But the smack board, I mean, it's hard to get away from that if you're still going to be in the league. And I guess Rob Burez must have got under the skin just a little bit. And I know with one of the Hernandez brothers, you know, just gearing towards you, I know this league can appear a little toxic, but I mean, it's fantasy football, bro. It's all fair, I'd imagine. So I hope the skin is a little tough. That's my bit at trying to be a little concerned about your well being. Look, I don't think you were trying to quit. I think this was a pretty. I mean, you can't control if Jameis Winston goes down. You can't control if Indianapolis throws to Dante Moncrief. I mean, you can't control if OJ Howard, you know, catches balls for negative or fumbles. I mean, you can't control any of these things. You play the guys that you put best forward. I mean, Buress is just getting under your skin. I hope it. I hope it didn't really get under your skin. You got a season that anybody would just want to fight somebody for. I agree. 4-5 is not anywhere you want to be. You're 4 games behind in my division, and the wild card looks far, but it's not statistically out of reach. So keep plugging, and it's got 3 keepers. You obviously just picked up Christian McCaffrey, who seems to be coming into the light. And Classy Strippers needed this victory just to stay somewhat relevant. I actually had Classy Strippers winning this one. This was one of my 2 victories. So I hope everything's good, Frazier. I don't like turnover is what it is. So hope you come back. Next we have Down Goes Frazier versus A Storm Is Brewing. I had Down Goes Frazier winning this one because he's starting to tumble. I don't want to get into who he plays next because it could be catastrophic if he loses a couple more. So the matchup was very good for A Storm Is Brewing, playing Carson Wentz, Alshon Jeffrey. The combo was ecstatic. Had to be a little jab for the Bears fan and Down Goes Frazier to watch Alshon do numbers against his fantasy team. LaShawn McCoy, after having a big explosive couple weeks, turn out 2.5 points. He better pull out a 20-point against. He better pull out 20 points this week playing disabled vigilantes because you're going to need every iota of those points. You can't lose against disabled vigilantes and expect to go to the playoffs because Chicago Chalupas, man, he's already played me twice. I mean, he's got a pretty decently rough schedule, but your schedule looks just as bad. You gotta pull out these victories, Down Goes Frazier, if you expect to make the playoffs. Speaking of the other Hernandez brother and his matchup with moi, disabled vigilantes, unlike the NFL, I'm not pulling any players, son. I'm trying to get to that 1,800 point mark, bruh. Even though I lost to Sean Watson, a marvel at getting points, looking like the next coming of Michael Vick in this piece, I'm going to stash him in the IR spot, and I'm going to play Sam Bradford. I'm going to play Jared Goff when the matchups are right. I'm going to look ahead, and I'm going to play for the playoffs, my friend, because that's what I'm going to do. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to hit the mark of 150 points each and every week. So you better come straight up. So Chicago Chalupas, this was your weeks 8, 9. I expected to lose those. Lo and behold, I won them. So it was a close matchup. This was your chance. Obviously, with Pittsburgh down, I didn't have Bill. You didn't have Roethlisberger or AB. This was pretty fair. Man, you decided to play Eli Manning. That's why I picked up Goff. I could have played Goff, but I wanted to beat you with Tom Randy Man Savage just to prove a freaking point that I didn't need this game. I don't need any of these wins, but I'm going to take them and I'm going to run them down your throat. You may be in fourth place right now, but I'm not worried about you, bruh. I'm not worried about you. This schedule, this was destiny. You may be the champ now, but the champ coming up, that's just not who you are. If I have to beat you 4 weeks this year, I will do that. You will not be champion this year, Chicago Chalupas. Mark my words. Beat you twice this year just to prove a point. I got this. This was my second victory. That's all I got to say about that, Chicago Chalupas. Next, we have Complex Stat Lines versus Miami Dice. Now, I picked Complex Stat Lines, and I know I shouldn't do that. Complex Stat Lines, you are the worst. And Miami Dice, good on you for winning this one. Sorry for doubting you, even though you had 2 players in the negative, and you still win this game. Yeah, good on you, kid. You're still a game behind in the Central Division, not out of that by any means, thanks to Complex Stat Lines being awful. Yeah, moving on. Flawless Victory versus Bull City. Now, this should have been Bull City's chance to stay relevant in the wild card race. Instead, Flawless Victory decided to put up 177 points, the highest of the week. He had Dak Prescott lead the way with 29 points. Excuse me. T.Y. Hilton caught a couple bombs. He led the way for 43.5 points. Excuse me. Yeah, Carlos Hyde run up for 20 points. This was no chance for Bull City, who barely got over 100. This was a wipeout. Flawless Victory easily wins this one. Prediction fail. And let's just look at the week. I mean, we got the awards. Most improved. We got Fantasy Stud, Fantasy Dud, Fantasy Dud, Complex Stat Lines. I'm going to hand that to you right now. You're 12th place, 1 win on the season. Are you writing it off? We got to really start thinking about last place stuff. I mean, next year, highest point totals are going to get boats and screws, a dub and 5 ones. So that's motivation for each week to try to get the most points possible. I like that. But for the year, we got to think about something. For who gets 12th in the standings? I want something humiliating. I mean, it's got to be bad. I really want owners to think about that. It's not your fault, Complex Stat Lines, because you're really active. You're just awful at fantasy sports. I just don't understand it. I don't know why, but you're last. It's just something I gotta address. You're last. You're worst. You're the best. You're awful. So you get Fantasy Dud for the week, and right now you're leaning toward Fantasy Dud of the year. Most improved has to go to Flawless Victory, who was, wrestling with that Fantasy Dud of the year. But, I mean, his team has always been very substance. I mean, it had substance. And then, like everybody, kind of hit with injuries, some more so than not. OBJ, big hit. T.Y., the luck thing, that's a big hit. Kind of like with Watson and Hop, but everybody handles it differently, right? And I mean, he's not been active on the waiver wires. Everybody's been like, "Oh man, is he really playing?" You know, and then they come in and have these guys just blow up. I mean, there's some substance there on the team. So, most improved, flawless victory. It's good that he's actually at least moving guys in the bottom. It's good to see that. So, most improved, flawless victory, fantasy stud. Let's just look here for a second. I mean, we got fantasy stud. It has to be the grind is real. Sweeping his division in grand fashion. And if Ezekiel Elliott keeps playing, he's going to be a force to reckon with in the playoffs. Fantasy stud. I mean, I was really tossing the idea. I mean, I got a win streak of 7 games. My win streak rivals some of you people's win column totals. I mean, my win streak is ridiculous, but I gave it to the grind is real. I mean, I did clinch the playoffs, but I gave it to the grind is real. Something to be said about how he won against the opponent that he played, and his game was truly meaningful and it was exciting. So, I mean, I did play the former champ at the matchups. I mean, our bye weeks, our injuries, the game wasn't really. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it did come down to Monday night, but I digress. Let's talk about the free agents. I mean, the free agent, there wasn't a lot of movement. I mean, the money's dwindling, so there's not a whole lot of movement. Not much to talk about there. I mean, the standings. I mean, let's I guess we can look at the standings a little bit. As we know, Disabled Vigilantes has clinched. We have a sole person in the playoffs. And we have the Grind is Real leading the West. We have Classy Strippers leading the Central. And we have Chicago Chalupas currently occupying the wild card spot. But we got a lot of 4 and 5 teams. We got a 5 and 4 team. A storm is brewing. Definitely wants to occupy that wild card spot. But these 4 and 5 teams, Lazy Pugs, When I Dip You Dip, Bull City, and Miami Dice, this race is strong. I mean, this might be the most exciting playoff race I've ever seen. And it's probably more exciting considering I've clinched. I don't know how many times I can say it. I mean, if I could grab some chopsticks and tie them to my waist and try to break them with my anus, I would. But that just seems like a daunting task. So I'm just going to sit back and, enjoy that I've clinched. So let's talk about the future, shall we? Because the future is bright. The future is very, very bright. And I haven't really pre-picked these. Normally I go in there and I pre-pick what I think the future will be. But as a treat, I'm going to go into week 10 and pick these matches with you live. So let's do that now. We'll start off with When I Dip You Dip. Adam Frazier, I hope things are fine. You can always come back to the chat. Just rejoin the chat. It'll be fine. I mean, if you want to. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, off season comes up, you'll be wheeling and dealing for trades. I mean, just a suggestion. But When I Dip You Dip, Bull City. Now, both teams 4 and 5. Both teams still very much in the hunt for wild card contention. Both teams in the East, so obviously not in divisional champ territory any longer. Which team? Both teams on a one game losing streak. So, which team has the best chance, to me, to win a possible wild card situation? Jameis Winston is out. And I think when I dip, you dip has suffered a lot. He's going through some mental anguish, whatever it may be. He's jabbing people, he's getting jabbed in the smack boards. He's leaving the GroupMe chat. I think there's some things affecting him that may affect his fantasy football judgment. I could be wrong, but I gotta go by what I see. And I see a Bull City team that has just less walking wounded and probably a little more stability. I'm going to go with Bull City to win that matchup. We'll see, but I got Bull City winning that and making When I Dip You Dip a little less likely to get that wild card spot. Speaking of wild cards, I got Damn Ghost Frazier versus Disabled Vigilantes. Speaking of not getting wild cards, oh mercy. Do you think I'm Down Goes Frazier winning this matchup? Sorely mistaken. Disabled Vigilantes gets this win. Now, let's be honest. It's going to be a tough matchup. I'm not going to just write him off. It's going to be, anytime I face a Hernandez brother, they give me their best. And I've already faced a Hernandez brother twice. So, I'm ready. I'm prepared. I'm ready for this. I got to face Tom Brady. Whatever. He's going up against the no-fly zone. I got to face LaShawn McCoy. Whatever. He's going to be going up against New Orleans in that revamped defense. Whatever. If it's snowing, I might be in trouble. But I don't think it's snowing. We got global warming. So, you got AP going up against Seattle's defense. Probably not going to be good for him. I really just think the matchups are going to favor my matchups more than his. So, Disabled Vigilantes, like always, with the victory. Moving on with the other Hernandez brother, Chicago Chalupas versus The Grind is Real. Now, The Grind is Real is facing a clinch type situation. He needs this victory so that he can be guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. Now, let's be honest. I mean, if he doesn't win his division, he is probably going to be, he would have to really just lose out to be not in playoff contention. And I mean, it could happen. Things can go south. I mean, you want to clinch. Things can go south real bad. You never know in the world of fantasy. Pixies can turn into gnomes. Gnomes can turn into orcs. Orcs can turn into demons. You never know in the world of fantasy is all I'm trying to say. So, who do I have winning this matchup? I have to give it to Chicago Chalupas. Something about the little champion that could. He turns out remarkable performances. It's like he plays to his competition. So I'm giving that one to Chicago Chalupas for no other reason than he's got AB back and they're off a bye week. So AB, Ben, it's gonna be nasty. They're playing Indianapolis. I'm looking at a 40 burger from both Ben and AB. It's gonna be sick. So next we've got Complex Stat Lines versus Lazy Pugs. I'm just not picking Complex Stat Lines to win anything anymore. So Lazy Pugs gets the victory. I don't really need to look at who's playing. I'm done picking Complex Stat Lines. You are the worst. Sorry. It's just not your year. I hope you come back, take the keepers that you have, and do better. Flawless Victory, who's almost in that same boat as Complex Stat Lines, going up against Jeffrey White. So, I mean, Flawless Victory, he's 3 games back. and there's only 3 games left. He's already been swept by. Um, he's already been beaten by a Classic Stripper, so he definitely can't win the freaking Central. So I mean, it's pretty much out of playoff contention. I think he's been eliminated. It's kind of a lost cause for flawless victory, except you're playing for pride and you can knock Miami Dice out of contention, right? So let's see how much pride he's playing with. Will he beat Miami Dice even if he plays at full strength? That's the question. I'm gonna say no. I'm giving this one to Miami Dice. I think Cam Newton has a good day against Miami on Monday night. I always liked Cam Newton, uh, except in the Super Bowl. He plays when the lights. He plays well when the lights are bright. I think Jonathan Stewart has a bounce back game, so maybe. I mean, McCaffrey could just easily play all the snaps either. I don't know. I'm giving it to Miami Dice. I don't know why. Who knows? Who cares, right? Who cares? That game is kind of eh. But we have a doozy in my game of the week. Lots of implications coming up in this. Classy Strippers versus A Storm is Brewing. So, Classy Strippers hit with buys like a mofo. And A Storm is Brewing. This is his opportunity to knock off first place in the Central Division. Now, in the West, that's typically going to probably be the grind is real's division unless something horrific happens, right? So A Storm is Brewing is really playing for that wild card. And to get there, he's got to go through divisional champions like nobody's business. And this is a test. So I'm going to give this one, dare I say it, to A Storm is Brewing. I just think Classy Strippers has too many of his home run hitters out this week. Unless Marcus Mariota puts him up a 40 burger, this is gonna. I think A Storm is Brewing takes one more step to try to get in that wild card spot. There you have it, folks. We've got our picks for week 10. Bye weeks are almost over, and we're about to coast toward the playoffs. This is where we separate the men from the boys. The cream will rise to the top, and we will start to see this playoff picture settle out real soon. So, like it or love it, those are my picks for the week. Hope to see you boys in the playoffs. Good luck to everybody except down goes Frazier. Now I'm going to holler at you boys next week. Let me see if I can get to every place that I need to be. And best of wishes to Deshaun Watson as he undergoes surgery. Yeah, we'll see you next year, bro. And make this Super Bowl push next year for the Texans. Peace!